Okay, welcome everybody. Welcome to the Friday webinar. A little different setup today here. Those of you on YouTube, those of you in the Zoom room have been helping me out here the last couple of minutes get set up. I've had a little computer crash and things aren't working so well for my computer these days. But of course I've got a good iPad Pro here that I'm using and we've been setting it up. And so you'll hear probably a little different audio quality throughout. I'm still going to toggle between when I'm speaking and when I'm talking, but hopefully this works for everybody. And those of you here with me in the Zoom room, feel free to let me know how this is going as time goes. I'm just going to get back to Zoom so I can see what's going on. I'm assuming I'm on. Okay, so my video should be back now. Now I'm just going to take a second here to put up our scores. And I've got right to the first one we're going to hear today. So let's see if I can figure out. I just got a screen share. And that may take me a second. Okay, so I am sharing my screen, and I'm going to share this. So in the chat box, can you see the Remembrances score here? This is from halfway through the Group 3 in the Mosaics Grade 6 book, and this is where we're going to start today. So you should see me in the side, everyone. You should see my screen here where it says Remembrances. And we're going to play through the music today here as usual. And I'll comment a little bit and give you some ideas about what I'm thinking and things that occur to me as we go. Again, today I'm just happy to get this out to you under strange circumstances for me. Hopefully you don't notice much of a difference. So we're going to start with Remembrances by Paul Sheftel. This is leaving off where we left off last week. For those that have missed the first part of Group 3 or any of the other Grade 6 Mosaics webinars, check out the YouTube channel at Conservatory Canada TV and you'll see the replays there. And so this will finish off the Grade 6 book for us today. Okay, so Paul Sheftel, an American composer, we've seen a couple of his pieces already in the series, and this is a really thoughtful, incredible lyrical thing there. He's got all sorts of rich harmonies, and it's based on ninth chords. All the way through, every measure pretty much is a ninth chord of some sort, and he finds interesting ways to fashion them together. We get the left-hand melody a little bit partway through, and I'll show you the second part here later on when we get there, when we get to the finish line. Overall, the sound is rather profound in my ear, the way this is put together harmonically. Here's what the second page looks like. And again, in the chat box, feel free to let me know if something's not working out here. In fact, I'm just going to come back to Zoom for a second and see if any of you have said anything. Okay, that looks good. So back to screen share. So Remembrances, this one is a lot of rather blurry pedal, dirty pedal I call it, where he wants it pedaled every 2 bars. And so we try to accommodate that in whatever we're doing. On the digital today, I'm pedaling a little bit more often than that, just because it just gets too blurry. On the acoustic piano, I find it works a little bit better, and it encourages me to play quieter. I have to play quite quiet if I want to follow his pedal markings. So even though the composer's indicated that, I don't always take that as sort of religion. It depends on the environment, depends on how the piano's set up, the acoustic of the room, and sometimes, how much can we really tolerate in terms of resonance. And so even though that's there, it gives you the license to be blurry, and I could certainly work with, do that with a student, but just always be listening as well in case you need to lift it more often. Of course, the more quiet we play, the dirtier the pedal can get, the more our ear will tolerate in terms of dissonance and blending of resonances and harmonies that are maybe overlapping. So that's a fun piece there, a nice piece to start with, lots of time and space. We're going to switch gears entirely here now. This is Andrew Harbridge's Storm at Sea. We've seen several of these pieces, including another one in Group 3 last week. This is a really neat piece, and I know students really like to play it because we hear it on exams often. He had published this previously, and it's a neat exploration in C minor with a few simple themes, and gives the students a lot of technique, and it's an impressive piece to sound with. And I've had students picking this out already and wanting to play, which is really exciting. So here we go, Storm at Sea, very picturesque. Concept, very exciting for students to play and express themselves. There's a number of interesting challenges here. I think the most for me is trying to bring out the left hand melody while the right hand is so busy here on the second page. Is that the second page? Yes. Going to the second page, I had to really rehearse that hand separately a lot. I think when preparing it, a lot of students will try and prepare hands separately, locking in the right hand and left hand in sync together. I prefer a different approach in making sure each part on its own is really solid, especially that left hand melody, so that they can get the weight there, so that they can balance that right hand incredibly quiet, and then fit them together with the same pulse, rather than trying to practice them slowly, all those hands together. I think that's a better way to do it. The students are going to get more fluency, and they start to learn to split their brain and be able to track 2 sides of the body separately. And it's a debate in my mind. I'll never know the answer probably. I'm sure science doesn't even know if they were to use a functional MRI scan on the brain while we're playing the piano. They can't really tell what's happening, but it's seemingly 2 different parts of the brain tracking each different part, and which part do we focus on? I often tell students to put your brain 90% in your left hand and just let your body do the rest in terms of the right hand. And sometimes I think that may be closer to the truth in terms of physiologically what's happening when we try to control 2 things at the same time. It's the fun thing about the piano. It's quite difficult. It takes hours of practice, and a piece like this is quite rewarding for students, I think, although it has its challenges. You'll notice toward the end there, there's this diminished 7th arpeggio that goes up in Andrew's neatly notated right hand and left hand, and that fingering works really well for younger hands. I just got a bit lazy, and I just decided I could do it all with 1 hand. I think, certainly try and get students to play that with 2 hands would be beneficial. The long run-up with This technical exercise at the end is quite impressive, and I just try and really relax my hands, getting right up over the black keys, and the more relaxed my fingers are, I show students different exercises to get that kind of relaxation to happen, so that they can go through quite effortlessly without having to work too hard through that. That takes a long time to achieve, but it's definitely worthwhile. He says accelerate at the end too. I don't think I did the accelerando myself, but students could certainly do this. There's a lot of room for push and pull here, I think. Going on to the next piece, again, we're going to switch gears and come back to Wishful Thinking, a new piece by Angelina Gibson, whom we featured before, including another piece in this book. 5 flats, very lyrical, a neat change to 3/2 time. It took me a while to internalize and figure out what those middle 2 lines were doing rhythmically, or the middle 3 lines rather, and then a neat repeat back to the beginning. Very reflective, and I think students are really going to like the harmonies in this one. So that's by Angelina Gibson, piano teacher and musician in London, Ontario. Really difficult, I think, for younger hands here to control that melody while there's so much going on in the right hand underneath the melody, and so that's a good piece for that, I think, to train that kind of thing. And we get this interesting, I notice that Angelina likes rolled chords, and at the end we see a downward roll. So just be aware of that in her music. I've seen it a couple of times in the series where there's an arpeggiated roll, but there's a down arrow at the bottom of it. So at the end, watch for that kind of thing as well in this particular piece. On to an etude in A minor. Louise Verheynck wrote a lot of etudes, and this one's from her Opus 50 set. I think she's quite fond of etudes, and there's a whole book of them published here by Eleanor Gummer at One Eye Publications, and that's where we came across this piece first to take it. I know Time Warp publication, or Time Warp has published this one through Superscore, and so we're happy to include it here. Trills and turns are featured a lot. Managing 6/8 times slowly, just only andantino, so I'm going to try and hold down the tempo a little bit here. And we've got some fancy fingerings notated there for the turns. I'm doing mine slightly different. I'm trying to use a 4-3-2, tucking my thumb under at the end on the turns, because I find it fits really nice. find it tricky to control the pedal on this one right now, mostly because of the digital piano. I need to work with it a little bit more. But I'll probably show students to try and rely on their hands first without pedal in this one, and then adding pedal a little bit later on, and not so much in a legato overlapping way, but more direct pedal like where you're on the top, your default is pedal off, your hands are doing the connecting, and there are key places where we're dabbing in the pedal to connect. Especially in the second half where the left hand gets a little bit busier, it's pretty hard to control the resonance and phrase that right hand when the pedal's down the whole time. So quite tricky with the pedal. We've talked about that a little bit before. And I've been really fond lately of just opening the lid or getting inside the grand piano and having students watch the dampers, how they work, how close they can get to the strings, and how it only takes 3 or 4 millimeters of pedal change vertically to get those dampers either just barely touching the strings or fully off. They don't have to move much, and it really gets them to connect their ear to what the pedal's doing if they can see what those dampers are doing. By means of opening their ear when they're pedaling in their pieces, and over a couple of years they can start to adjust and gain these little advantages in terms of managing the resonance with that right pedal. Let's go on to Idil. This is Cécile Chaminade, very French harmonies. Again, another 6/8 piece. You'll notice I haven't run the stats, but if you count the number of 6/8 pieces in Mosaics, it probably breaks a record for a Conservatory series. 2 pages long here. I'll just show you the first page for now. Very lyrical. I'm trying not to go too quick in this one. I think it's hard to find the right tempo for allegretto. This one I'm trying to err a little bit more on the slower side because it can rush ahead and then you kind of lose this idea of bien chanté that she writes at the beginning, to sing well. And I'm trying to use a nice long heavy arm here with these right hand notes to get them to project and to taper and blend them from one to the next to create the phrasing. She gives us a little clue on the second page. There's not a lot written there in terms of dynamics, except for forte in the middle. I felt I started maybe a little too loud, and then you get to the A section, and then she finally has a piano marking there with dolce again to return to the beginning. So I tried to take that seriously in terms of guiding my overall volume or sound. Okay, another women composer here, Amy Beach, American. This is Pantalon, or Imitation of a Pantomime, from her Children's Carnival Suite. It's probably the most difficult piece in the book. I've been trying to learn it for a while, and my accuracy is getting better. I think students will have a tough time with this, but it'll be a really great graduating piece for grade 6 to see if students are ready for grade 7. Testing their patience, lots of slow metronome work probably with this one. It is 2 pages long, lots of articulation, lots of tricky technical moments. So I'm going to take this one today, hopefully a little bit slower than Allegro, just to make sure I capture a bit more of the detail. I'm not happy really with the accuracy yet in it for my hands, but just to give you an idea of how it sounds, the character, and I'll try and inject some of the life into this one as we go, so you get an idea of what's possible later after students spend probably at least 2 or 3 months on it. So I wouldn't give this to a lot of students. Depends how sure their hands are. To play in performance would be pretty tough, I think. But you know, it could fit into grade 7, but we decided to put it in grade 6 because there's not a lot of moving around really. The left hand is a bit more static. We've had other pieces like this. I think about our past series, the Tiptoe by Walter Buczynski in the grade 6 book is very similar to that, maybe even a bit easier. So we still think it fits nicely into grade 6. So I think that's a fun one students are really going to like the sound of. Franz Liszt, The Bell Tolls. This one, it's been published before in Conservatory albums, but we're happy to bring it back here. C minor again. Tricky to get the left hand going with the timing and the right hand on offbeats with these strange ties. Quite moody. And again, I think the challenge here is more in the expression and getting the balance right so that the left hand stays heavy and present there while being soft at the same time. So again, quite woody there, trying to create a lot of time and space as well, really stepping back into that andante territory. Following the ritenutos, the ritardandos, showing off the structure with long pauses, changing the mood and the color in the middle if you can. Really tricky to get the right hand, left hand back and forth seamlessly through this. So I think students will really like it, nice challenges, but some artistic things to work through in this one, which will be fun for students at the grade 6 level. This is a Rebikoff false miniature. I'm sure we've seen this before in some books. Conservatory Canada, we've never published it from what I can see, so it's nice to include it here. This one, tricky because the right hand gets around a little more and the melody transferring from one hand to the next in a few places. And so there's a need really to express and follow the topography and create some relief in the phrasing in this one. That's one of the biggest challenges, I think. So not too hard, but challenges, playing in B minor is not the easiest thing to do. And we do have a few pieces between grades 4, 5, and 6 in B minor, which is interesting. You always find yourself in awkward fingering situations, so we've made some recommendations there in the score. A little bit difficult to follow that harmonic minor, melodic minor scale passages in this one. It's neat to point that out to students at this level when they're preparing and doing theory at the same time. So that's a valse by Rebikoff. And then we go to, on a southern balcony, here's a really nice moody piece. This one's 3 pages long, or no, sorry, 2.5. I'll just show you the first page as I play through here. This is by Theodora Dutton, which is a pen name. From what we understand, Theodora's real name is Blanche Ray Alden. We've seen one of her pieces before. We're going to have another one from this same series, Southland Sketches. We're going to have it in the grade 7 book called Mardi Gras Rebel. And so pen names are kind of interesting. For whatever reason, we're not sure why she used a pen name in this case. But it comes up even some Canadian composers we see using pen names. This one, the challenge to create this 3/4 graceful. It's kind of moody, it's dark in places, it's lighter in other places, there's decorative things. There's indications to use rubato, and there's places just to use rubato on your own anyways. And the melody's always transferring between the two hands and creating this nice dark landscape. So a really thoughtful piece. I think students are really going to like this. Lots of movement to explore there. A really neat waltzing section in the middle. It's hard to get that melody out with both hands doing so much in the middle. And then just very expressive, important to push and pull. And there are times where the right hand has beats 2 and 3 in the middle of the keyboard where it can be bright, and the left hand's trying to express a melody in a sort of darker area of the keyboard. So really just barely touching the right hand. Hard to get students to do that, I think, especially to keep beats 2 and 3 light in this one. Will be really key. Here's what that third page looks like. And then Robert Schumann at the bottom, as we do in these books. The principal mark of genius is not perfection, but originality. There's a lot of room, I think, for originality in this piece. Reconciliation. This is Beth Hamilton. This is from 2016. It appears in another collection, and we really wanted to publish this one here. It's really thoughtful, profound kind of music. I sort of think if Arvo Pärt, the Estonian composer, ever wrote anything more for piano, he wrote very little, it would be along these lines. A really nice piece, wide range of dynamics, and I think you'll hear that here with a lot of lyricism. So a rather profound subject matter comes through in the harmonies, comes through in the phrasing, comes through in the dynamics. Really exciting piece, I think, for students to play because you can hear this really definite A-frame kind of arc to the music and difficult to pull off. In the middle at the fortissimo, you get that really low crashing D and all this stuff on top, which should be pedaled, but it can get too blurry. I'm using incremental pedal there to get those dampers close to the strings, just barely touching, to keep the top end's a bit clean, but you can still hear those thick strings in the bottom B ringing out for 2 or 3 bars. Hopefully, it's tricky on some pianos to do that. Even on the digital, I was able to achieve that today, so I was happy with that kind of treatment from the digital piano. But those are things to get students to listen for in a piece like this, I think. Okay, and we finished today with a waltz by Tchaikovsky. This is a 3-page piece here. It's probably one of the more familiar pieces. We've all heard this before, and it's nice to publish it here. It's at a really good difficulty level. And Allegro assai. I'm probably not going to do the assai part. I'm going to take it a little bit back today. Still Allegro though. Concludes the grade 6 book finally here over 3 sessions. That's what page 2 and 3 look like there. And then a quote from Tchaikovsky himself: "Inspiration is a guest that does not willingly visit the lazy." That's fascinating. Here are the composer bios that you see at the end of all of the books here if you want to know anything more about some of the composers we've touched on today, because some of them are likely a little less familiar. I'm going to stop sharing now and come back to the Zoom room. Any questions or comments here from the gallery that's here today? Okay, good. Just making sure the screen sharing is stopped there. You can see my video again. So just wondering if there's any questions. I think what we're going to do is I'm going to stop the YouTube stream now. Those of you on YouTube, thanks for watching the replay of this. Hope you enjoyed it. Stay tuned in the new year. We'll probably get on to the grade 7 book, which we hope to release pretty soon, sometime in the month of December before Christmas. If we can, we're working hard to do that. And I know Andrew and his staff at Harvard's One List Music are working hard to do that for us too. And then in January, we'll get back on the webinars here. I think that'll be the next one, hopefully middle of January, where I can start playing through some of the grade 7 book with you. And I've got some other guests lined up for the new year as well that I'll let you know about later. So let's just stop our YouTube stream.